Hello, Internet. My name is Roro, and welcome to my channel. Today, I wanted to talk about getting through creative blocks, writer's block, working on something, and you're not really sure where to go next, what to do. You feel a block from actually making something. I think every creative person has dealt with this to some extent, so let's get into it. First thing I want to do is play a clip of an artist talking about their perspective on writer's block. So I'll play the clip and then I'll explain it after.
I remember when I was like 17, one thing Earl told me was like, I was like, what happened when you get like, when you can't really make music, like you can't write nothing? I was like 17. And he was like, that shouldn't happen because rapping is just like a report on your life. So I used to like make songs trying to tell stories. So after he told me that, it was just easy to make songs because I was just like not creating stories. I was just saying like real shit, like real life stuff, and I learned that from him. So ever since then, I just that's how I made music.
So the person speaking in this clip is a rapper named Lucki, who is a huge influence on me, one of my favorite current rappers. And he's talking about Earl Sweatshirt, who's another big influence on my music and also one of my favorite current rappers. So the first time I heard this, it really resonated with me and it made me think, are writer's blocks and creative blocks even real? Why do they happen? What causes them? And how do you get through them? So the first thing I'll say is if you're having writer's block, it probably means that the thoughts that you're thinking and the ideas that you're having, you don't feel comfortable expressing, or you haven't lived enough and you haven't been inspired enough by your life to know what to write about. Because if you're out living your life, again, I'm a songwriter, I'm a vocalist, so if I'm out living my life, even if I'm not doing like super exciting stuff, I have inspiration to pull from just from my personal experiences because I like to write from my personal experience. And even if you write like fictional stories or something like that, this doesn't only have to be real life stuff, but you need to have a fulfilling life in order to make good art, I think. Actually, let me rephrase that real quick because if you don't have a fulfilling life and you're struggling, that can be a source of inspiration for creating. And a lot of times it is for a lot of artists, but I just feel like for me personally, when I was at my lowest points in life, sure, I was making art and sometimes I would make art that I enjoyed, but the best stuff that I've made is when I feel good. Like I don't like this idea of like this down and out fucked up artist that makes this beautiful art. No. I choose to prioritize my real life over my art all the time in every situation. So I don't necessarily think that that's a good mentality to have. It's a romanticization of struggle, and nobody wants to struggle, but people want to overcome struggle. So that should be the source of inspiration if you are struggling. Everybody struggles with something at all different times. And this is all coming from personal experience, of course. The reason I stopped releasing music is because I sort of wrote myself into a corner and I felt trapped and limited by the structure that I placed around myself for this specific project. So now that I'm not doing that, I feel so much more free to just do whatever I want, make whatever I want, create whatever I want. But the only way you can get to that point is if you're consistently working on stuff. You don't have to be releasing stuff all the time, but you have to be tinkering with stuff at least, or at least writing down ideas, constantly thinking about what you want to create to get that momentum going. You know, an object at rest stays at rest, an object in motion stays in motion. You know, it's Newton's law. That is 100% relevant to creative endeavors, I believe. The more momentum you have, the more inertia that you build up, the better you're going to do because you're going to feel way more comfortable creating and you're going to feel much more confident in your ideas and the actual act of creating what you're trying to make. Now, if you watch my channel, you'll know that I am off social media. I have been for about 6 months now. So, somebody who's trying to have a career that involves social media, yeah, you're going to have to post every day. But for the way I create, in my opinion, focusing on social media will water down what you're making and it'll cause you to cut corners that you normally wouldn't in order to just get content out sooner. So that's just not for me personally. If you want to do that, that's fine, but I just want to clarify that that's not the type of thing that I am focusing on. That's not my goal. With that said, there's a series of 3 books by the author Austin Kleon, and the books are called Steal Like an Artist, Show Your Work, and Keep Going. They're pretty short, small books. There's a lot of drawings and pictures in them, and a lot of quotes from other artists. And basically, it's probably, in my opinion, the best perspective on being an artist in like the current digital age. And, you know, there's some things that I disagree with that he says, and I think within 10 years, a lot of the information will be outdated. But the core substance to the books is really, really good, and his voice is very strong. And I think, if anything, they're easy to read, and if you're a creative person and you haven't checked these books out, I would definitely recommend it. Start with Steal Like an Artist. That book is just really, really inspiring, and it'll give you perspective that you maybe didn't have. So if you're looking for something to kind of jumpstart your creative endeavors and get a little bit of new inspiration, I would definitely recommend that. They helped me a lot, you know, a couple years ago when I read them. And I don't remember exactly which book this is mentioned in, and other artists and creative people have mentioned this as well, but in order to get through a writer's block, you have to just create. I kind of mentioned that before with building up inertia and momentum, but I'm realizing now more than ever, that is one of the most important things for a personal journey through creating, is you have to just keep at it. You have to constantly be tinkering on stuff and working on stuff, thinking about stuff, coming up with ideas. And if you're passionate about what you're doing, it's going to come naturally to you. You're honestly not going to have a choice. Like, as far as music, I think about music constantly. Even if I'm not making it in the moment, I'm constantly thinking of like drum grooves or melodies or chords or lyrics. I literally can't help it. It just comes to me naturally. And when I get the most frustrated creatively is when I let my ideas sit. They get stale or they get overripe and I don't do anything with them, and then I get disappointed. And if you sit down to make something, it's probably not going to be the best thing you ever made, especially if you've taken some time off. So you got to push through and you got to keep working on stuff until you find that thing. Don't wait for inspiration to come to you. You got to find that inspiration. Okay, if you don't want to do this, then don't do it, of course. But honestly, the best and possibly the only thing you can do is just make stuff. Even if you hate it, make something and be like, I hate this. And then make something again the next day and be like, I hate this. And eventually you'll make something and you'll be like, oh, this is pretty cool. Or you'll go back to stuff that you made and be like, oh, actually, this was good. I don't actually hate this. I was just in a weird headspace when I made it. And that's okay. You know, art doesn't always come from good places, like I said, you know. And getting into this perfectionist mindset is very dangerous too, because that's going to cause you to never make anything, because you're not going to want to make anything unless it's perfect. And art is never perfect. Another thing that I have heard, I don't know who this quote is attributed to, but art is never finished, it's only abandoned. You can work on art forever. There's some pieces that take years and years, up to decades potentially, to make, like films and stuff. And you can never really be quote unquote finished. You kind of have to just stop working on it when it feels good. When you find that feeling in a piece of art that you're making, that's when you should stop, or at least start touching it up and cleaning it up so that it can be presented. Because you can overwork stuff too. Art is very tricky. It's one of the most natural things humans can do, but it's also very confusing and tricky to navigate. So that's it for this video. I hope you guys got a little bit of inspiration. I know that I need this advice just as much as anybody else. I post every Sunday on this channel, always kind of talking about similar topics. I stream on Twitch. Link in the description if you want to come check me out there. I also have a Discord channel that's starting to ramp up a little bit now. So come check that out there if you're interested. And I'm going to play a little bit of music that I made just now. And hope you enjoy, and I'll see you guys next time.